Hey, my name is Ryan. I'm one of the co-founders of Ops Kings. We have about 30 video testimonials of companies we have built Airtable systems for that many of them 6 to 12 months later are still operating and useful and helping scale their businesses. And so today I'm going to talk you through my thoughts on whether you should use Airtable, what kinds of business sizes are right and not right for Airtable, what types of offers or processes are, I think, the best use cases for Airtable, what use cases within your company are the best for Airtable, and we'll address Airtable templates as part of that, and then some alternatives that you could think about that I think are probably better solutions depending on basically all of these things. So for the start, I would say, so Airtable, for those that that don't know, is a database tool. It's what I would call, or what is called a relational database tool, so that it allows you to track different types of data and how they all connect to each other. One of the limitations of Airtable is it's not something like a bank would use to store all the transactions. It's just not built for massive sizes. So if you run an enterprise, you're not going to use Airtable to handle the entire business. It's not an enterprise tool. At the same time, so there's like I said, upper limit. At the same time, if you have one person, if you're just a freelancer, you're at the point in your business where I would say you get much more benefit from having a very flexible tool like a piece of paper or a spreadsheet or a Google Doc or something to keep track of client work. And so I would say if you have one person, not so useful. If you have 10,000 people, you're probably not even watching this video. If you're considering that, you're probably looking at enterprise tools like SQL Server or something like that. So perfect thing, I think, in terms of size, where we find the most use would be like a 4 to couple hundred person company where we're building something custom within Airtable to handle the process that happens after they buy. So a service business that's small, $50,000 a month to $1 million a month, somewhere in there. And so we're looking at multiple team members. One of the things that distinguishes Airtable from something like a spreadsheet is Airtable allows you to have the data in the backend and have the data shown in different ways depending on the use case. So we can make a view in Airtable that says like, you can have the backend data have all of your clients and all of the projects for every single client you've ever done. Your sales team can see only the clients that haven't done a project in a while. Your fulfillment team can see and have another view that shows them only the active projects. You can have another view that shows you only the projects that are overdue. And so the data is the same in the back end, which allows you to have what we call a single source of truth. But the view of like who needs the visibility is different. So that's really only useful when you have, if you have one founder and they're doing everything, you're one founder or a freelancer, they need to see everything pretty much all the time. Splitting things up into different views is kind of a detriment to a solo founder or a freelancer. The other interesting thing is you could have a case where it's a solo founder and you need to track a lot of data. So let's say you run a cold email agency and you're tracking your 5 clients. Each of those 5 clients has got 5 to 10 active campaigns, which you're always reloading with leads. And you're also tracking whether an email address is live or not live. So you have a lot of data, and you would still probably have a need to look at the data in different ways and have dashboards and things. So in that case, if you have a decent sized team or a decent sized amount of data you want to track, then Airtable is great in terms of that. Okay. If you get into millions and millions of records, there's other things that I would recommend. But I would say most of our company, or most of the companies that we work with that we find the most use for Airtable, are like an agency that's 50,000 to a few $100,000 or millions of dollars per month. And we're building something custom for their process because they have a lot of knowledge about their process. So that takes me to the second point, which is your offer or process. Airtable is think of it like the raw materials to build something custom. So got nails and screws and wood and steel and stuff, and you can build like a custom house that's meant for you versus having something that's like prefabbed. And so to me, the advantage of having tools that allow you to build something that's custom only really apply once you know enough, once you have a very consistent process. So for example, let's say you're a freelancer and you're building websites for people. You start to get really successful and you start to get a lot of referrals and you're building a lot of websites. There's going to be a point where you need to hire a couple more people to handle parts of that website development process. And you're going to get to a point where your process gets pretty defined. So we always have these stages of the website building process. You're going to know, well, this stage should only take 2 days or 3 hours or whatever it is. And you're going to have a need for different use cases. You're going to have a need to see different pieces of data, which could be like, show me all the websites where the design phase took more than 3 days, and or I want to know who my best performing designers are versus my worst performing designers. Once you have that process nailed down and you have a consistent thing that you do, Airtable is a great tool to have that data shown to you. Okay, so that would be a great offer for Airtable. That's why a lot of agencies come to us, like SEO or websites or whatever. They've tried other tools, like they've tried spreadsheets when they were quite small, and they've had they know they're frustrated because they have a very consistent process, and the visibility is the biggest opportunity for them. Okay. On the other hand, if you have if you're a small company, but every single customer, like you kind of do it differently. You're like, well, sometimes we're doing a website in WordPress. Sometimes we're building a WordPress website in Shopify. Sometimes we're doing Google Ads. Like maybe you haven't figured out a consistent offer or a consistent process yet. It's probably not a good tool. So if you're still in the experimentation phase and switching your offer a lot, I would normally go with a more flexible tool. So like a ClickUp or a spreadsheet or something like that. Because these are more flexible tools, these are advantageous when you need to experiment and you're still figuring out what this offer is. I wouldn't use Airtable. It's not going to be advantageous to you. You're going to end up, if you use an Airtable template for a super flexible thing, you're going to create like a really bad version of ClickUp, right? Is what you're going to create. And it's going to be more expensive and difficult to maintain because you're creating a copy of something that's a poor copy of something else. So you may be wondering, okay, let's say you have a company that you think is a great fit for these two criteria. So let's say it's a service-based business. You're at $100,000, a couple $100,000 per month, and you're like, okay, I want to get better visibility into the bottlenecks of my process. I want to make it easier for my team to do all these. Like these all things sound great. Now, what within the business is a good use case for Airtable? Airtable offers templates that you copy and paste. There's an AI builder that you can type in some stuff and you can say, hey, like I want an Airtable base for a web design company, go, and it will generate you something that I think is pretty generic. Personally, I don't love. I mean, they're okay. It's probably better than nothing, kind of. But it's almost like having a house that's custom, but it's like not quite custom. So it's like just annoying enough to have a lot of friction. So I think if you have enough of a need for Airtable, the opportunity for having a really smooth process could double your business or triple your business within 3 to 6 months, just by unlocking that ability. So I wouldn't use a template. To me, using an Airtable template, you may as well just go with like a spreadsheet or if you're smaller, ClickUp, right? But to me, use cases for this, probably not a CRM. I would just do off-the-shelf CRMs because a CRM, again, is a pretty standard process. You have call booking funnel and it goes through. The use case we would normally use Airtable for is everything that happens after somebody verbally closes or closes with you. So we would normally start in terms of Airtable with the process of fulfilling work for one customer when the offer of the process is fairly consistent. The other thing we would use Airtable for would be if that if that fulfillment of that process is a very consistent, like a finance tracking base to track, if you had a very consistent process around finance, how much you charge people for what, but the off-the-shelf tools in terms of accounting don't work for you, or hiring. So we have, in our Airtable, we track candidates for roles, our feedback on sample tasks that we have them do, and things like that, because we want to optimize our hiring funnel. And we also have the other use case we use Airtable for is marketing. So we have a team that creates marketing ideas for us and edits videos. We want to make sure that we're capturing that. We also use Airtable to track testimonials. Again, that goes into our marketing base. So these are some use cases within the business that we have found the most useful. We would normally always start, I would recommend that you start with the main client delivery process, help that be smooth. And then once that's out of the way, then you can get into things like a hiring funnel or a marketing function for that. Okay, so alternatives, you may have heard of these. I'll kind of share thoughts on these. We have ClickUp, a spreadsheet, Notion, and then the last tool is a kind of bonus one if you have a lot of data. So for us, people say, like, what tools do you use? Why do you use Airtable? Do you always use Airtable? And the answer is no. If you have a lot of data, so for example, we have one customer who he's tracking about 1,000 orders per day. It's in the logistics space. That is way too many data points for Airtable. So when we have customers where maybe it's in the cold email space, they want to track every single lead, like talking like thousands and thousands and thousands of leads per month, or in the logistics space, we would use a tool called Supabase. We've tested it up to millions of records and is very, very, very stable. So we really like that one if you're looking for an alternative. If you have a very, very flexible offer or you're a small person, I would go with a spreadsheet or a notepad file, Apple Notes, whatever you got to do. But a Google spreadsheet is great. It allows you to start to move stuff around and really experiment. And then once you get into the rhythm, then you can lock things down by going with Airtable. ClickUp, we've had a lot of problems. A lot of companies come to us and they're like, hey, I'm running on ClickUp or Monday, and like I hate it, and like things are slow. The point at which they come to us varies. Sometimes it's around 50K, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 100K in terms of revenue. I would actually keep ClickUp, but I would consider that ClickUp is a very flexible project management tool. And so we would actually advise that you have two different tools in your business. One for the very, very consistent, we have rigid process. We want to track every single milestone here and have lots of analytics. And for that, we would lock things down in something like Airtable. And then we use ClickUp for like, hey, we need to make a new website, and we got to hire 3 people, and we have to open an office in Berlin. And basically, we think about ClickUp or project management tool as the custom one-off initiatives that are working kind of on the business, and Airtable as your process tool. So that's that as spreadsheet. Notion, it's like Airtable for children. Don't use Notion. Notion's great for wikis, but anybody who uses Notion for client work has had problems with it, and it's a joke. And then Supabase for lots and lots and lots of data. So hopefully that helps. A little quick view of Airtable and where I think you should use it. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, leave something in the comments below. I will do my best to get back to you. I also have a 2-hour-long video on how we implement Airtable for businesses that I will link to right here.